Hello, and thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners and influencers. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so they can take on more website projects and profitably. Today, I am joined by another legend, the Molly Pittman, CEO of Smart Marketer, is on the show. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Chris, that's such a good intro. You should be a radio host, buddy.
I was for a little while. I
There we
had a
go.
radio show in San Diego for
Yeah, you're
about,
made for
about a year. Yeah, I got the face for radio. Is that what you said?
yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on. I
Yeah,
appreciate the
really,
the nice intro.
really excited to have you on because, like I kind of feel like I've seen you grow up throughout your career, having started kind of like a digital marketer, and now you're the CEO of Smart Marketer with Esther Firestone. So we're going to talk about all of that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about something that's really, really cool is because both of us live in different countries. So you
Yeah.
grew up in the States. I think, did you grow up in Kansas? Is that right?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Sorry, I knew it started
Yeah.
with K. Kentucky, and then eventually you made your way to Amsterdam, which is where you're at now. Like most people,
Huh?
I live in Tijuana, Mexico. So talk to us about like your experience living in a foreign country. And actually, right now, it's such a unique time in history where
Mm.
the coronavirus, and we've seen all the things that have been going on in Europe through the news here, in North America. Like how has your experience been transitioning from living in the States to now living in Amsterdam?
Yeah, it's interesting. I first came to Europe 20 years ago with my grandmother, and I just fell in love with it. Like I felt really
Yeah.
excited and felt really good here. And back in 2012, I actually moved from Kentucky to Austin, Texas. That's where I became an intern and then VP of marketing at DigitalMarketer. Craziest 5 years of my life, like
Yeah.
so amazing. But a part of why I decided to go out on my own, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, was because I had that travel bug. Like I had that gut feeling guiding me somewhere else, or I wanted to be somewhere else. And environment is so huge for me. There are many factors that come into play there, but like access to quality food, just the general vibe of a city, the transportation,
Hmm.
access to nature, being outside, definitely tech and marketing. Like I want to be around my people.
Yeah.
So I did live in Colorado for 2 years in Telluride, which was beautiful. I needed to rest and kind of some time to heal after digital marketer and figure out what I wanted to do next. And so I lived in Colorado, but I felt a bit stuck there. I was in Telluride, Southwest Colorado, small town, like 2,000 people, the most gorgeous place you could ever be. But I was ready to live in a city again. So I came to visit Amsterdam again. I'd been here 10 years previously, which you and I talked about. You had too. So I came here at the end of 2018 and spent a
Hmm.
few weeks, and I really enjoyed it. And I felt very productive here. I felt very aligned here. I loved the sort of work-life balance that was forced a bit because of the
Hmm.
time difference.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
the US, the East Coast doesn't really get to work until about 3 p.m. here. So I can take the morning to either focus on creative projects, things I need to get done, or get outside and enjoy my day,
Yeah.
and then come back to work, which is really important for me. So I very much enjoyed that. So I decided to come here for 3 months last year, and I was just going to stay for 3 months and enjoy Europe, and I haven't left. Well, obviously I've gone back to the US for trips, but
Yeah.
I decided to stay. So it was definitely a process. I didn't intend necessarily to move to Amsterdam. It kind of happened, but I feel just yeah, I have great balance here. I love the people. I love the way of life. For me, I love the US and I'm so grateful to be an American, but especially right now, it feels very individualistic and
Yeah.
it's toxic in a lot of ways, and that
Hmm.
affects you even if you aren't participating. When you're in an environment and you're living somewhere, like you feel those vibes, not to get too woo woo, but like if
Yeah.
you're participating in the community at all, or just existing in that place, that can negatively affect you. So, I really love the, I guess you would say, communal aspect of Holland too, and Europe in general. And it's definitely more of a group effort. And yeah, that's how I like to live my life.
That's awesome. So you kind of touched upon the cultural differences between the States and Europe, and specifically Holland. Ha- has it been a difficult transition? Going from what we have here in the States to there's little subtle differences between the States and Holland. Has it been challenging?
Yeah. Not really. I would say the only challenge that I have that has actually been a benefit for me is I'm from Kentucky. That's very
Hmm.
much Southern culture, like very warm personalities, go out of your way to smile and wave. And,
Yeah,
that type of behavior can also lead to being a people pleaser in a way. So I'm definitely a recovering people pleaser. And it's interesting here, Europe in general, and specifically Dutch people are very nice, but they're
yeah.
very direct, to the point, honest. There isn't a lot of, um, I don't know what you would call it, but yeah,
They
it's
don't
it's
hide it. They
very,
don't sugarcoat it.
yeah, exactly. So that's very different. And I actually enjoy the directness. Like, I love
Hmm.
overlaying my warmness like that. The bubbliness of will never go away, but it has been a really good lesson in direct communication.
Wow. Like living here in Mexico, the Mexican culture is also, they're very, very warm. And I grew up in Southern California,
Mm.
which in my opinion now, it's a very stuffy place. And just, I think in general, the American culture is a lot more stuffy than it is here in Mexico. So like one thing that always throws me off is when you greet somebody, like a man and a woman greet you, you give a kiss on the cheek, on the right cheek. It still like weirds me out a little bit. I'm just so not used to it. And why is that a big deal? Because like lots of other cultures around the world
Yeah,
that,
I get
but
it.
it just feels very, very uncomfortable.
Well, I mostly just don't want to screw it up. I'm like, whoa, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. But
Yeah.
I love that level of affection, though. And I also love that, um, yeah, we don't have to go deep into that, but there are just less cultural issues here, especially when it comes to like relationships between men and
Yeah.
women, or
Yeah. Yeah.
like just the like issues or boundaries that we would have. Boundaries isn't the right word. Boundaries are good, but I think you get what I mean.
I do. Yeah, there's little things that are taboo in the United States or like that cause controversy, where in other countries, Mexico, Holland,
Not
like,
a big deal.
they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah,
not a big deal.
exactly.
Okay, last question about this. The language. How have you dealt with the language? Because obviously they speak Dutch, which is like a
Yeah.
weird language to me.
I mean, I live pretty central, and most people, I actually haven't encountered a Dutch person that doesn't speak English.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's what I
I mean,
experienced too.
education levels are very high. English is very much a priority, and
Hmm.
most people speak English, and they're used to you not speaking Dutch, especially tourists. So,
Right.
the language is, at least it sounds so very different from English that I hope to learn it, but it's not something you just easily pick up. But yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely do hope to learn it,
It's kind of
just so I can
similar.
participate a little bit more socially.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the
I
same
think it's
in
respectful.
Tijuana. It is. It is totally respectful. Here in Tijuana, like we're right on the border. There's so many people who speak English. Like everybody in my office speaks English.
Hmm.
So that's actually hurt me in terms of learning Spanish. Like I
Same.
understand pretty much everything in a normal conversation. It depends on the context too. Like if I go to a jiu-jitsu class and all the guys are talking slang, like I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
This conversation or a restaurant or something like that, I can pretty much understand everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's start talk about the whole reason why we're here, which is you and your story and all that. So you started out. I'm going to skip all the like college stuff and like you started out your professional career as an intern at DigitalMarketer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did.
How did you come upon that position? Let's start there.
Craigslist.
So you're living in Austin. You just
Yeah, so I
something
live.
or like
Yeah, I leave Kentucky and I had been working at Buffalo Trace Distillery. It's a
Okay.
bourbon distillery. Well, they
Okay.
distill lots of different spirits. And I really enjoyed that. And I thought that I wanted to stay in that industry, maybe go to Austin and work for a distributor, but I couldn't get a job
Mhm.
in that field while I was bartending. But I wasn't even getting callbacks. And so my degree was in marketing. I was
Mhm.
interested in marketing. So I saw this internship. But what really was interesting to me, two parts. The first is that the ad explained they would be hiring 12 to 15 people, and that at the end, after a few months, only a few of us would get a full-time position. So
Got it.
that was really interesting because it's kind of competitive. It's like a
Yeah.
game. And I'm like, well, at least I'll learn something.
Right.
The
Right.
worst case is I come out 3 months later, I don't get a full-time job, but I learned something.
Yeah.
So that really, really caught my eye. And yeah, just the chance to learn. They expressed that it actually wasn't Digital Marketer yet. It was called Idea Incubator. But in the ad, it explained that it was run by Ryan Dice, who was,
Mhm.
a digital marketer, and that
Mhm.
this was going to be very education based. So I
Mhm.
love the competition aspect of it. And I also love the idea that I was going to learn something new. I didn't even own a laptop at the time, seriously. So, I had used Facebook as a consumer, but I was not even close to being in this realm.
So eventually, you were one of the ones who were selected for a full-time position. Is that correct?
Yes.
So walk us through like your first year or two at Digital Marketer, because that company transformed pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I was the third or fourth person. And right when that internship experience ended, they actually hired more of us than they expected, which was great. And
Mhm.
then that's when Idea Incubator, which is a holding company for a lot of companies, kind of broke into a few smaller companies. So I went to work with Ryan on Digital Marketer. Some of the interns went to work for some e-commerce companies that Ryan
Uh-huh.
owns. So that's when the name Digital Marketer had been around, but that's when it became its own thing. We got our own office and off to the races. So I was the third or fourth ish person there. And unfortunately, I didn't have any skill sets at the time to directly affect the bottom line, which is
Yeah.
I know what we needed help with the most at the time.
Right.
So I first dug into organic social. That's when
Mhm.
you could still get good results with organic, especially on
Mhm.
Facebook.
Mhm.
There wasn't anyone on the team doing that. So that was somewhere that I could fit in. I also found myself staying late during launches, like helping build membership sites, which I had no idea what I was doing, but somebody had to do it. I was setting up webinars, I was coordinating. I remember one of the first launches I worked on was actually with Ezra Firestone. Digital Marketer was publishing Ezra. That's when we first
Mhm.
met. And I was building this community before there were Facebook groups even to, for Ezra to connect with students. So honestly, the first year was a complete shit show in terms of I didn't like, I learned a ton.
Yeah.
I worked way too much. My friend Colleen, who was my boss at the time, always says like you literally slept under the desk, which isn't completely true. But I completely overworked myself, but it was worth it because I got exposure to, just so much experience and information in this industry. So I was
Yeah.
doing whatever I could to help the team, really, and to develop my skill set and to be relevant so that they would keep me around.
All right. So let's fast forward. So digital marketer, just in general, starts picking up steam, and like traffic and conversion also. And the first time I think I met you was at traffic and conversion. That starts picking up steam as well. And then you get this opportunity to speak on stage for the first time for your first traffic and conversion. What was that
Yeah.
for you?
Wow. Well, so the organic social stuff led to ads pretty quickly. I
Yeah.
obviously realized that I could run ads on Facebook. We didn't have a media buyer. I went into Ryan's office. I said, "Hey, I want to try Facebook ads." He gave me access to a few courses, $1,000 on an Amex, and was like, "Bring me back more money than I just gave you. And here's the product I want you to sell." And so I became the media buyer, which was the skill set that could really allow me to help the company. And so that next TNC, Ryan said, hey, native advertising was what we were really focusing on at that time. I want to do a presentation on that at TNC. You're the one that's doing it in our company. Could you just build a presentation for me, since you've got all the screenshots, you know everything, and then I'll present it? I'm like, yeah, of course. So, I was honored to like be building this presentation for him, spent a lot of time on it. And then I gave it to him and he said, okay, well, will you present it to me?
Yeah,
Like, so I know what to do. And then I did. And he's like, great, you're going to be doing this talk. And I am so grateful for him for that, because I feel speaking is truly my art. And I don't know if I would have gone out of my comfort zone, or I would have, but it would have taken me years before I found that art, that passion of mine, if Ryan wouldn't have pushed me. So, I mean, I was so nervous, and that was like 3 days before we were leaving for San Diego. And so those 3 days I was sweating. I remember the night before I was like puking. I was so nervous. I had Ryan sit in a chair on stage in case I froze up. He could like fix it. And thankfully I didn't need him. It went really well. And the rest is
because I mean, it was a big room. There was probably like 3,000 people in the room.
Yeah.
That's
I was
legit.
like 22, I think.
Dude, that's amazing. Well, good for you.
Really grateful for Ryan on that.
All right. So, you were at DigitalMarketer, you said, for 5 years. If you had to list out, and I'm sure there's a million things that you could list out, but if you had to list out your top 3 things that you took away from that experience at DigitalMarketer, what would they be?
Number 1, how to craft offers. Simply, whether it's something you're selling, whether it's a lead magnet, just how to package that in a way that's attractive to an audience. And, Ryan Dice is amazing at that. Richard Lindner, Perry Belcher, Roland Frazier, the guys that started and run that company, they've got lots of skills, but that's what they're best at. So that was definitely number 1. Number 2 is obviously paid traffic. That gave me the experience to, do what I do now. So that's really helpful, but that wasn't really something I learned from them necessarily. They gave me the space to learn it and amazing offers and funnels to work with, and they did help me, but I taught myself that a bit more, which feels good. But yeah, just crafting offers. I still, every time I'm working on a new offer, almost, I go back to a conversation I had with them or a situation and kind of pick it apart and learn from it and apply it to what I'm doing.
Yeah. I need one more. That was 2.
Oh, sorry. I can't count.
Okay.
Oh, so these are the best lessons that I learned.
Yeah. Like the best.
So I also learned a lot about scaling a company, because that company did grow so quickly. I learned a lot about how to do that, obviously, which a lot of that is offers and traffic and email marketing. But I also learned a lot of stuff not to do. And just mistakes that we made that I find myself going back to now. What things like hiring when you actually need the person. Nowadays I'm like, who are we going to need in a year? How can we start to facilitate these relationships and find people that we're going to need in a year? Something Ryan's very set in. He wants DigitalMarketer to be a company that has an office, right? Everybody lives in Austin pretty much. And that's cool. And that works for him, but that's not for me. And that's a big reason, I Smart Marketer, is a virtual company, not the reason it is a virtual company, but why I was attracted to that. So yeah, just lots of lessons about scaling, what to do and what not to do.
That's great. We could have a whole show just on that.
Yeah.
It's like one of the dreams for a lot of agency owners. And there's the word scaling. It's a very ambiguous word. Like, everybody likes to throw it around, but I don't really anybody has.
It means doing more with doing more. Yeah. That's all it means. But yeah, I agree. It's such a buzzword, and it's what everyone's trying to obtain. And a lot of times when someone actually scales, they're unhappier. And I think that, not to get too personal, but that was a lesson at DigitalMarketer. Like, the goal was always to scale revenue. And that is how we were measuring the size of the company and mostly the impact of the company. And from my lens, the more money that we made, the tougher that it was in a lot of
Right.
ways. And that wasn't my decision, which is great. But I learned a lot from that in what I want in my own life and my own businesses.
Yeah. And so then you left and you went out on your own and you ran your own agency for a little while. Is that correct?
Yeah. Ran ads for some folks. I wouldn't call it an agency, but yeah, kind of like a solo agency with a few
Yeah.
contractors. Did a lot of consulting too, speaking, traveling. Yeah, the first 2 years after I left were mostly paying the bills through agency clients and consulting and
Right.
traveling and keeping myself out there, staying in the industry.
Awesome. And then now we have this very, very exciting new role. You're the CEO of Smart Marketer with Ezra Firestone. I mean, talk about a great industry to be in right now with e-commerce.
Yeah.
That's going on with the coronavirus. Tell us about your role at this company now.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, really 2 years ago now, Ezra approached me and said, "Hey, I want to do more with Smart Marketer, but I don't have time to teach all of the courses because I'm running other businesses.
Hmm.
Would you like to produce a course together, create a course together?" And I said, "Yes." And so we did. And that's when Train My Traffic Person was birthed. It was a
Hmm.
hit. It did
Yep.
really well. Then we launched Team Traffic, which is a monthly membership for more advanced media buyers. We launched a virtual conference called Smart Traffic Live last year, and like the momentum was building. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it made sense. Last year we had a conversation where Ezra said, we can, and we all agreed, like we can all do, and this is John Grimshaw included, our CMO, who we work together at Digital Marketer. We can do more together than working on separate projects. And so Ezra was willing to bring us in as partners in the business, which is
Hmm.
amazing. So, it's a long-term play for me too. And it feels so good to be back in a team environment and, leading a group of people, having a brand name and really being able to serve under that brand name feels really nice. So yeah, that's where we are now.
Awesome. What are some of the responsibilities that you have with being the CEO of this company?
I talk to a lot of people. I mean, first off is strategy. Ezra is still very involved, but making sure that we are making the right moves at the right time, that we are launching the right products, that our sales funnels are top notch, that our paid traffic strategy is where it needs to be, that our email marketing's on point. I mean, just the overall, especially marketing strategy is definitely my responsibility. Ezra handles more of the adult stuff, like talking with the CFO. I'm involved in that, but
Yeah.
not as much, thankfully. So I'm just really strategy and then meeting with team members who make that stuff happen, whether it's our media buyer, our CMO, our COO, the team as a whole. And, making sure that people understand what we're doing, what their role is in the bigger picture, and
Hmm.
the next step we need to take to move forward. But I would say more than half of my time is spent teaching students on trainings, webinars, podcasts. What's interesting about Smart Marketer is that Ezra and I are the products essentially, in a way. Like we are at least the personalities, we're the faces. So most of our responsibility too is keeping ourselves out there and make sure we're doing stuff like this.
Yeah. Awesome. What like of all the things that you do, what's the most fun for you?
Teaching and helping students. Yeah, I love teaching because I learn through teaching, and
Uh-huh.
I also, yeah, I just enjoy it. It lights me up. But when I get most excited is when we get a post in one of our groups that a student has had success and been able to send, his daughter to college, or it saved their business, or they were able to hire 50 more people this year, or whatever it is. That's really what lights me up.
Yeah. And you know what? That means that you're an agency owner, because that's how all agency owners are. For
Of
the
course.
like there's some of the agency owners for the most part are like the biggest hearted people that I've ever met. And
Yeah.
I've worked in a bunch of different industries in a sales, role for the most part. And there are a lot of industries that just breed assholes,
Yeah.
like lawyers, for example. Like, dicks, man. Like all of them are just jerks. I'm sorry. I know they're not all jerks, but a lot of them are jerks. Digital marketers and agency owners are just really, really cool, nice people. Like,
Yeah, well, it's hard. I mean,
yeah.
to number one, want to go out of your way to grow someone else's business when that's
Mhm.
not your own. I mean, that's a certain type of person in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
To stay up to date with all the strategies and like, this isn't like accounting is pretty much the same every year. Like an accountant pretty much does the same thing every year. We do
Yeah.
not. So that
Exactly.
attracts a certain open-minded type of person. And then, this industry does lend to a really awesome lifestyle. I mean, look at us right now. We're both casual at home, doing
Yep.
whatever we want.
Oh, I'm in
So
shorts right now. You can't see I'm wearing board shorts.
yeah, I mean, I don't have shoes on.
I never have shoes
And
on.
yeah, Kentucky joke.
There you go.
But I think that also lends itself to us being open-minded and relaxed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, final question. Coronavirus, COVID-19, just completely transforming the world. What are your advice for agency owners out there right now?
Understand that your clients are probably scared and they might go through different waves of that. And the agency owners that I'm seeing retain and bring on the most new business right now are not necessarily the people that are going out of their way to pivot and like create a new strategy and like, all of that. It's the people who are really providing support, I guess you would say, to their clients, right? That are there to listen to their worries, right? Almost like a therapist in a way.
Yes. Oh,
So
100%.
not that you shouldn't try to pivot, not that we shouldn't be focusing on results right now and getting things to work again if that's an issue for you. For a lot of people, I mean, stuff's working better than ever, which is very
Yeah.
exciting. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference right now, or the agency owners I'm seeing do the best, are the ones that are willing to get in the trenches with the business owner, with that business, and feel it with them and guide them out. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that's
Totally
huge
does.
right now.
Yeah, I did a live training yesterday, and actually I talked about that specific thing. And I think this is one of the big things, at least that's occurring in the States, and you might agree, since you live outside the States now, is that people in the US feel so disconnected from everything. They feel
Yeah.
disconnected from each other, from their families, from their work, for the most part, people feel disconnected and alone. And this coronavirus really exposed how lonely people are. And that's why you see these crazy conspiracy theorists that just like gain so much traction because like people are like, oh, that's a movement that I can join on to. That's somebody that can make me feel like I'm part of something. Same with nationalist groups. They provide a sense of belonging and they combat that loneliness that everybody's feeling. And so as an agency owner, you can be that shoulder for people to cry on, or you can be that voice, you can be that guide, you can provide that community that's going to say, dude, I know that you're going through some tough times and I'm here for you. I got your back. Like no matter what happens, you're not a customer right now. You're like my family, right? And I'm going to help you get through this. We're going to do it together. And the people that are succeeding are taking that and they're just like going so hard with building that community and being that foundation for their clients. And those ones are killing it right now.
Well said. Yeah, they trust you. And a lot of people are in a state of fear right now.
Yep.
And that comes through in your business. If you're in a
Yep.
state of fear, that is the place in which you are operating from when you're making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are there to help guide them while they're in that place, I mean, the trust and loyalty to you,
they're never going to leave you. They're never going to leave you.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. So Molly, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you? And I do know you have this very, very exciting new book that's coming out. So I want you to talk a little bit about that before we let you go.
Yeah, so I'm releasing a book in a few days actually called Click Happy, Your Guide to a Meaningful Life and Career in Digital. And you can find that at mollypittman.com. It's MOLLYPITTMAN.com/book. And that book goes deeper into our industry, how to find your place in the industry, talks a lot about my story and just lessons learned over the last 8 or 9 years. So yeah, I would really appreciate the support. Pick up the book if you can. A free course also comes with it. You can learn more about that on my site. So
Fantastic.
mollypittman.com/book. And thank you so much for having me, Chris. You're
Yeah.
a very nice person, and I
Thank you.
have appreciated spending this time with you.
Great. And one last thing, who's the perfect person to reach out to you today?
Anybody that needs help. I mean, if anything that I said resonates with you and you're still listening right now, you're the perfect person.
Awesome. And I can vouch for that. Like, Molly is so generous with her time and generous about helping people. So if you're listening to her and you want to learn from somebody, definitely check out her site and grab her book, buy her book. So, all right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much for being on the show. To all of our listeners, thank you all for tuning in today. And make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency